Welcome to ICI Podcast. What we are going to discuss today is the 200 angels that came down from heaven and they were interbreeding with women, among other things. And then they were bound. Well, is there the potential that they have been set free? So we're going to discuss that today, as well as some other things that were happening right before the flood happened, and also some biblical correlation and references as well. And this is in Enoch chapter 10 through 13. So let's just dive right in. Also, it's a little backstory about what we talked about last week. What was happening then was all this stuff was going on with these 200 angels, and then 4 angels in heaven came to God, and this was Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Michael, and they came to God and they said, "You know what's going on down there. Could please tell us what you want us to do about it?" So this is what we had just talked about last week. So starting in chapter 10. Then the Most High, the Holy and Great One, spoke and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech and said to him, "Go to Noah and say to him in my name, hide yourself, and reveal to him that the end is coming, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and it will destroy all that is on it." So Uriel goes to Noah, and so Noah was apparently, his life was in danger, so he needed to remove this situation that was going on at that moment. "And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world." So this is where Uriel would have given him the instructions of building the ark. "And again the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert that is Dudael, and cast him there. And place upon him jagged and sharp rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him stay there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light." Notice here that Azazel, and he was one of the leaders of these 200 angels, notice that Azazel, he is bound alone. And the rest of the angels are bound in a different place, and we'll discuss that shortly here. And verse 6, "And on that day of the great judgment, he will be cast into fire." So at the time of the end, he will be cast into the fire. "And heal the earth, which the watchers have desolated, and announce the healing of the earth, that the plague may be healed." This is by the coming flood that they're talking about here. "And that all the sons of men may not perish because of the mystery that the watchers told and taught their sons," meaning Noah and his family. "So, and the whole earth was made desolate by the deeds of Azazel's teaching to him ascribe all sin." So Azazel was made the scapegoat. Okay, why was Azazel made the scapegoat, so to speak, for all of the angels? Because what he taught the people led to the greatest corruption, the worst destruction of the humans as a whole. To recap some of what he taught the people in chapter 8, he taught them weapons of war. He taught them how to make swords, knives, shields, armor. He taught the women how to make jewelry, how to wear cosmetics, and practice seductive arts. And all of this helped to lead to violence, vanity, sexual immorality, and the total societal breakdown. So the sins of all of these angels, the worst of it was placed on Azazel's shoulders. Now, you can see a correlation here between what happened to Azazel. He was picked as the scapegoat. The same thing, it's the way Jesus did it himself, is when he was the scapegoat. He was the lamb that had to be sacrificed for us. All of our sins were put on his shoulders when he did not commit any of them. Not the same here. Azazel committed all his sins. But Jesus didn't commit any sins, and he was made the lamb that had to die for the people's sins. All of our shame were put on his shoulders so that we could be set free. So there's this correlation here that runs through this. Is there also a biblical reference to Azazel? Well, there is, in fact, and as I talked about before, it's made clear in the Bible that the people were well acquainted with this story. Okay, it talks about it, and it's talked about in Jude. It's talked about it in Genesis 6, 1 through 4. It's also talked about Azazel specifically in Leviticus 16, 8, 10, and 26. And I'm going to read this part to you in the NLT version. To note, other versions will say scapegoat instead of Azazel, and then in the footnotes it will say or Azazel. So again, NLT, Leviticus 16:10. So the other goat, the scapegoat chosen by Lot to be sent away, will be kept alive, standing before the Lord, when it is sent away to Azazel in the wilderness. The people will be purified and made right with the Lord. So you can clearly see here the people knew the story. They were acquainted with this story. It was they make a correlation, a comparison to the scapegoat in Azazel, also to sending him to Azazel in the wilderness. So they were carrying away and cleansing. The scapegoat was carrying away the sins to cleanse Israel. So clearly acquainted with the story, and they make a clear correlation between the two. So continue on with verse 9 in Enoch. And to Gabriel the Lord said, "Go, Gabriel, to the bastards, to the half-breeds, to the sons of interbreeding, and destroy the sons of the watchers," which was these 200 angels, "from among the sons of men. Send them against one another in a war of destruction. They will not get to live a long life. And no petition will be granted to their fathers, these angels, in their behalf, that they should expect to live an everlasting life. Nor will any of them be able to live up to 500 years. So they were wanting to live this long life, and Jesus says no. Or God says no. And to Michael, the Lord said, "Go, Michael, bind Shemijazah," the main leader of these 200 angels, "and the others with him, who have mated with the daughters of men, so that they were defiled by them in their uncleanness. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones," so this was part of their punishment. The angels had to see. Now, what's about to happen is the whole everybody on the earth, except for Noah and his sons, and their families, because of what because of what the angels had just done, created all this corruption and all this sin and all this immorality. All of these people were going to die, and because of this DNA, they were unclean now in their DNA. All of the people had to die on the earth, right? And so this was going to happen to the people. So the angels had to watch their children die. So part of their punishment. And it says, "And bind them fast for 70." Okay, and when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind these angels fast. So first they have to see their loved ones die, their family die. Bind them fast for 70 generations in the valley of the earth, okay? Until the day of their judgment, and of their consummation until the judgment that is for all eternity is accomplished. So, as I mentioned earlier, they're bound separately from Azazel and the valleys of the earth. So, right, there's two different groups. Now let's talk about the 70 generations that they're bound for. And let's try to calculate what that might look like. First of all, it's been about 4,350 years since the flood occurred. Second, what is actually a generation? One of the biblical definitions is about a 40-year time span between father and son, which would have put us already at 109 generations, okay? So way past the 70 generation mark where it says that these angels will have been released. Or it could be generations based on lifespan, which Psalms 90:10 defines as a human lifespan as 70 years, or by reason of strength, 80 years. So if we use that as a human lifespan, and we work forward from the flood and factor in that it took about 3,500-ish years after the flood for the lifespan to shrink from about 300 to 500 years old to 60 to 80-ish years old, you have somewhere between 60 and 70 plus generations. Okay, so again, the angels have been already released or just about ready to be released. So if Enoch is to be believed, the angels that have been bound have more than likely just been released, about to be released, which means, one, this puts us squarely in the end times, if you didn't already know that, clearly, which in a human time frame could be years from now, because, it says in the Bible that God sees a day for a year for a day. It's, time is completely different. The way they see it, the way God sees it. So, that could be for us, could be years from now, tomorrow, we don't know. 2, imagine if when these angels are released, how everything is going sideways, how, the world is just gonna, and we can see that now, how really crazy things have gotten. Can you say aliens? What are they wanting to believe about aliens? They've been talking about for a year now or more that they're going to release information on the aliens are real and they come from other planets outside of our own solar system or out of our own planet. And they, supposedly the narrative is going to be that the aliens are where we came from. That's how we were created, was through the aliens. That's where our bloodline comes from. Supposedly is going to be the spin, is going to be the narrative. So we cannot be deceived. Anything that shows up alien is going to be just evil, and these UFOs will be our technology, that we have had and hidden. I'm sure there's more that I don't know, but it's not what they're trying to tell you. Everything's a psyop these days. So we need to have awareness. We have to be in our Bibles so that we know the truth and we will not be deceived by the lie that they're always trying to tell us. So could these angels be what we're going to, be lied to as aliens? Maybe. Have they been set free? It says 70 generations, we either there or past it. And, anyone that has chosen Satan as their God, they are working with the enemy. They are working with Satan. They are working with demons. They're working with these entities. Do not be fooled. They get their power from the wrong source. Also remember that the first thing that the book of Enoch says in the very first sentence that the book of Enoch was written for the elect that are alive in the end times. So perhaps the book of Enoch is a heads up, potentially. Or it's complete, baloney. You get to decide on that. So verse 13, continuing on. In those days, they will be led off to the abyss of fire and to the torment and the prison in which they will be confined forever. Again, talking about these angels that are confined. And whoever is condemned and destroyed from now on will be bound together with them until the consummation of their generation. So anything that was left that, they had to watch the destruction of their children. Maybe not all of those were killed. when they had to go to war with each other, but all of their seed was bound together with them. So this is referring to the spirits of their offspring due to interbreeding. So the following verses here now refer to the peace and the abundance after the flood, when they are now free from these evil angels and their offspring. And destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end. Let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forever. And then all the righteous shall escape, and they shall live until they beget thousands of children, and all the days of their youth and their old age they shall complete in peace. So this is after the flood, free from these angels and their offspring again. And then the whole earth shall be tilled in righteousness, and it shall be planted with trees and be full of blessings. And all the desirable trees shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it, and the vine that they plant on it shall yield wine in abundance. And every seed that is sown on it shall yield 1,000-fold, and each measure shall yield 1,000-fold. And it continues on that, 19, 20, actually chapter 11 repeats exactly the same thing. It's just 2 verses talking about the storehouses of blessings will descend upon the earth, and the labor of the sons of men. Now, chapter 12. Before these things, Enoch was hidden, and no one of the sons of men knew where he was hidden, or where he was, or what had happened to him. And all his activities were with the holy ones and with the watchers in his days. So very likely what this is discussing is Enoch had been translated, and he was up in heaven hanging with the angels, which is, his translation was discussed in Genesis 5:24. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Great One and the King of eternity, and behold, the watchers called me, and Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go, tell the watchers of heaven who have left the high heaven and the holy eternal place, and have corrupted themselves with women, and have done as the sons of men do, and have taken for themselves wives, that you have done great destruction on the earth. And you will have no peace or forgiveness of sins. And inasmuch as they delight in their sons, the murder of their beloved ones they will see. And over the destruction of their sons they will lament. And they will make supplication into eternity. It will do them no good. They will not receive mercy or peace. Chapter 13. And I, Enoch, went and said to Azazel, God told me to tell you, you will have no peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against you to bind you. So this was just before the angels were bound, that Enoch comes to them and tells them what's going to take place. You will have no relief or petition or mercy or tolerance because of the iniquity that you have taught, and because of all the works of blasphemy and iniquity and sin that you have shown to the sons of men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven. For from then on they could not speak with him, nor lift up their eyes to heaven for shame of their sins for which they had been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition and the prayer concerning their spirits, and their deeds individually, and concerning their requests that they should obtain forgiveness and forbearance. And so I went, and I sat down by the waters of Dan in the land of Dan, which is south of Hermon to the west, and I was reading the petition until I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions fell upon me, and I saw a vision of wrath, a reprimand, to reprimand the sons of heaven and to rebuke them. And I woke and I went to them, and they were all sitting gathered together, mourning in Ubil-Sail, which is between Lebanon and Sennassir, with their faces covered. And I told them about the visions that I had seen in my dream, and I began to speak with the words of righteousness and to reprimand the heavenly watchers. So that is Enoch 10 through 13. We will continue on with what Enoch told the angels next Friday. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again next week.